He's a target. He's a mark. As soon as he walks in, that's what 90% of the savages are saying is this dude is a mark. What happens to the guys that don't know how to fight? The guys that have never been in the gang life or the criminal life? Pretty good question, right? Let's talk about it. So I received a comment on the last video that was a pretty nice comment, man. Pretty long, pretty insightful from a guy named Michael Leroy. I hope I got your name right, buddy. Maybe I didn't. But anyways, he was asking what happens to regular old people, man. You know, what happens to that guy that just comes in and isn't used to all that stuff and living that way. And I've definitely known a couple of them to do that, dude. So there's definitely one thing people do when they come in. Sometimes the guys will come in, and if they don't know no better, you automatically think that police are going to run the jail. Well, you know, that's what's going to happen. And they do, but they don't. So I've seen guys go up and push a button. Let's say they're getting extorted. Let's say somebody wants to take their trays, or let's say they took something that was theirs, bro. You know what I mean? And they'll go over and tell the CO. And if you go over and tell the CEO, 9 chances out of 10, you're going to get put into PC. Because as soon as you tell that cop something, now the whole unit pretty much thinks you're a snitch or knows you're a snitch. And the CEO will take you directly from that point to protective custody. And then you're on lockdown for 23 hours a day. It depends on where you are. Sometimes there's TV, sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's protective custody blocks where they have all the protective custody guys in there together and you get to roam around. There's different custody levels at every jail. Like there's a higher custody level. Sometimes it'll be people that can only be in single cells, and then there'll be a lower level where you'll have double cells, and then there'll be even lower level where it's a dorm area. So there's really no lockdowns or anything just because those guys are lower custody. So most times guys like that you're asking about would end up in a place like that, a low custody prison. But if you did end up in a place like a penitentiary, for example, where I did have two guys in my block that fit this example perfectly. One guy's name was Gilbert. He was in for selling Oxycontin. And the other guy's name, for some reason, I want to say Robert or Robertson or something like that. Maybe Fuggin Steve. Maybe you can help me out on them guys' names. But anyways, Gilbert was in for Oxycontin, and Gilbert was he had a bad back. He was just a small, little, fat, weak guy that was an easy target, bro. All day long, he's a target. He's a mark. As soon as he walks in, that's what 90% of the savages are saying is this dude is a mark. So if that's happening in the penitentiary, you're going to have a hierarchy of guys that won't put up with that shit, okay? And they're going to be the gang guys most of the time, dude. It's going to be the Aryan Brotherhood. It's going to be the Aryan Circle. It's going to be any number of those gangs that are the hierarchy of the white guys inside a prison. So they're not going to let anything happen to those weaker guys. Gilbert was in my block. He was a very nice guy. He would give you anything. He would loan you anything. He got a few things from me from the store. Every once in a while, he would run out of something and come by and get something from me, pay me right back immediately. Always had money. So he was definitely a very good target. Somebody could have got this guy big time. But that just wasn't going to happen. The other white guys that, I guess you would say, run the yard for their community wouldn't allow that to happen. So in the other video where I talked about running the other gang off of the yard, that came from a decision made by those shot callers of the white gangs. And that was when it was decided that those guys had to be run off the yard because they were extorting other white guys. So they were making some dude bring them, so much stuff from commissary every week, or taking their stamps. They were playing football tickets and not paying out. So like, boom, 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 taking all this money on these bets. And then when somebody would win, they weren't paying the ticket out, So, and then it got to be where it was like 4 or 5 of these guys out of 10 or 12 that was doing this. And it got to be where it wasn't one guy. This was a whole thing. Everybody was going to jump in on this, but you can catch that video in this playlist too. But that was the whole reason for that. Like this is, you got all these guys going to the hole. You got guys being shot with rubber bullets. There was several knives involved. I don't really think anybody got stabbed, but this was a massive fight in the middle of a prison yard because these guys wanted to extort the weaker guys. And they just weren't going to let that happen. Not where I was, you know what I'm saying? That's not how it worked at Lee County, anyways. It could be different there now. If you were in a different level prison, it would be different too. Something like that would have never happened at the medium I was at. I haven't told any stories yet about being at Butner, North Carolina. So I was also at Butner, North Carolina in a FCI, which is a medium. I'll go into some of those stories later on, but it's totally different there. Like, you know, the people that could never walk the yard at the penitentiary walk the yard regularly. Like, just like they were like normal old guys, because of the custody levels was totally different. And you had a lot of guys on this yard that were in wheelchairs and walkers and stuff like that. They could barely get around because it was a medical facility. So again, it comes back to custody level. So I guess what I would say to that is don't do anything violent. If you do anything violent or anything like that and you're not used to it, you're going to end up in a high security prison. Whereas if you just do something that's a white collar crime, then you probably end up in an FCI or something. Anyways, look, Mike, thanks a lot for the comment, dude. I appreciate it. It gave me something cool to answer today for today's video because I didn't really have a lot of time to do one, so I super appreciate that. Anybody else, man, if y'all got questions, dude, I'll answer your questions. I'll come back at you with something and let you know what I think or how this goes or whatever it is that y'all want to talk about, man. So hit that like button for me. You know, share this video if you want, and I'll see you for the next one. Thanks for hanging out.